Hello again and welcome to another Warhammer 40k 8th edition reveal video. Trying to keep up with the absolute breakneck speed with which Games Workshop is churning out their reveals. I'm trying to keep up as best as I can. I'm going to be doing multiple uploads for the foreseeable future until 8th edition drops. Just let's bang out as much content as possible, and hopefully we will be able to predict a lot of what's going to be coming in 8th edition. And we will be able to be prepared for 8th edition before we actually have to face the foes of the Emperor. But without further ado, let's get into today's reveal. Today's reveal is actually quite a long one in terms of what these reveals normally have in terms of content. And it's all about characters. Now, if there's one army that actually relies on characters more than any other army, it is the Imperial Guard. Now it's interesting because most other armies are sort of built upon the fact that they've got grand heroes leading them. Space Marine captains can slay almost any foe in combat. Vile Chaos Lords who have seen entire worlds burn. Ancient Eldar Farseers which can command the power of the warp as easily as we breathe. Yeah, great. They all have really prominent characters, but the Imperial Guard is one of the few armies out there that without good characters, without good leadership, without good advisors, just falls apart and it's just useless. One of the few things that has kept Imperial Guard even remotely competitive in 7th edition has been the strategic and tactical use of characters. You guys have seen my 7th edition videos, hopefully. I've gone over sergeant loadouts, commissar loadouts, just pretty much any loadout for any characters. I've gone over priests, I've gone over primarily psychers, I've gone over lord commissars, regular commissars, I've gone over fucking platoon commanders, I've gone over company commanders, I've even talked about officer of the fleet, just absolutely every kind of character that you can sort of think about. And advisor, of course, independent characters, regular characters, and advisors which don't even have the character status anymore. But I've gone over pretty much every kind of character that you can for the Imperial Guard. Tech priests, before I forget, the mighty tech priests, one of the hidden gems of the 7th edition codex. Not sure how we could really have used it too much in 7th edition, but it was still a good character to have. Good old power fist, power axe, tech priest, can't go wrong. So like what am I saying here is, Guard really rely on characters. So this, I know I'm going on about this, but it's interesting for an army that is meant to be the faceless hordes, the faceless masses of the Imperium. We actually really rely on characters more than any other army out there. Other armies can get by with just a war boss, or a spaceman captain, or a librarian, or a sorcerer, or a hive tyrant. But Guard really can't. If you take a single character in the Guard army, it's going to fall apart. You take like a single company command squad, you take a single, Lord Commissar, your army is going to fall apart. Anyway, let's not labour the point too much. Haven't even got into the fucking meat and potatoes of the video. We're already about 3 minutes in, so let's crack on with it. Right. Essentially, let's get down to brass tacks. Characters can no longer join units. Let's just throw it out there. Alright? They've done this to try and remove Death Stars. They specifically say the age of the add prefix star is over. So Death Stars are gone. I've been saying it for reveal after reveal. It's looking like they're trying to kill off Death Stars. Guys, I am an oracle. I have said they've been trying to kill off Death Stars. This proves it. I was right. And I said that way before this even came out. I know a lot of you are going to be saying, well, you're a little bit behind with these reveals. You obviously read this first. I do these in batches, guys. So trust me. I'm telling you now. I called this. Anyway. So, what does that mean for the Guard if you can't join units? Well, obviously, straight away, I'm thinking, oh shit. How the fuck am I meant to protect my commissars? If they could just be sniped, if they could just be blown away, then you know, an army that seriously relies on characters suddenly just got a massive kick in the nuts. But let's carry on, because I think they do actually address sort of how characters aren't going to get completely shat on. So, characters can't join units anymore, but they tend to buff sort of all units within 6 inches. So an example they use is the Dark Elder character Drazar lets you add 1 to the hit rolls of all friendly Incubi units that are within 6 inches. So if we can extrapolate that to, you know, sort of Imperial Guard, Commissars are obviously going to affect all units within 6 inches. Hopefully. Now we kind of already had that with, you know, what is it, Inspiring Aura, or Aura of Inspiration, or, you know, the little bubble that Lord Commissars he chucked out. So we kind of already had that. So that's alright. And then, you know, they talk about, you know, Recruit Shapers can share the superior leadership to recruit units around. Well, I can definitely see Commissars doing that. Now, let's say Commissars can't join units anymore. Let's say they buff the morale of all guards and blobs within 6 inches, or guards and squads within 6 inches. And let's assume they're going to have some kind of summary execution capability. Alright? This means now that if you're tight on points with a guard army, let's say you're playing like 500 or 1,000 points, you can now use 1 Commissar. Well, in theory, you know, we don't actually know the rules yet, but in theory, you should be able to use 1 Commissar to buff multiple blobs, multiple squads. So we're potentially looking at some really efficient Commissar usage here. So, you know, keep that in mind. Now, the next thing is really, really important, because a lot of you are going to say, well, it's all well and good your Commissar be able to affect multiple units, but Commissars are pretty much as easy to kill as a Guardsman. They got flak armor, they got 1 wound. Now, we don't know how the difference between Lord Commissars and regular Commissars is going to come about in 8th edition. Maybe there won't be Lord Commissars and regular Commissars. Maybe there will just be Commissars, and they roll the Lord and the regular Commissar into one single unit, or one single model. Maybe. But the next thing that I'm going to say will make you go, oh my god, yes, praise the Emperor. You can't join units, but characters cannot be targeted unless they are the closest enemy model. Okay, so if you put your Commissar behind your blob of infantry, then they physically cannot target him. Okay, physically cannot target him. So, what does that mean for the guard? Well, it means that we can now protect our characters from even being targeted by 99% of the weapons out there, which is really, really good. However, what that also means is that enemies will be able to shield their characters from us. A really, really brutal example of this is the fact that, for example, Robert Gilliman only has 9 wounds. Or I should say, the character has to have 10 wounds or less. So if you've got a character with, you know, 11 or 12 wounds, like some kind of fucking Lord of War Beastie Boy character, they can't take advantage of that. They're just too big and monstrous. They can still be targeted. But if you've got someone like Robert Gilliman, who's only got 9 wounds, he can just sit behind a phalanx of Space Marines, you know, multiple squads of 10, maybe we're talking like a phalanx of 30 Space Marines with Robert Gilliman behind them. He can just walk behind them. You can't fucking target him. They'll be like, kind of like a weird, like kind of like Testudo. And the Space Marines will advance, and you won't be, and you'll be blowing fucking tactical Marines left, right, and centre. You'll be blowing them apart left, right, and centre. But Gilliman will just be walking along behind. Suddenly he gets within charge range. He just starts chopping your guys apart, and there's nothing you can do to stop him. You know. So be aware that combat characters are now going to find it much easier to get into combat. I mean, think about it this way. You could have a character in with a squad in a transport. The transport gets blown open. Your opponent cleverly puts the squad in front and then the character behind. You've got to blow through the entire squad before you can get to that combat character. Rhino rush or transport rush full of deadly characters and deadly combat units is going to be back. I believe Rhino rush is going to be back in force if the rumours are true that you can assault from any vehicle. Doesn't matter if it's an assault vehicle or not. If you get out of a vehicle, you can assault. That's the rumours, guys, so be prepared. So, one last thing I want to say. They go on to say, you know, you've got heroic intervention, which means if you've got a character near a combat, they're going to pile in because they're not just going to stand there and let the line guys get torn apart. So what does that mean for guard? It means make sure that your characters are near friendly units to give them buffs, but not too near to the fact they'll get pulled into combat and torn to pieces, because, you know, a commissar is still going to get torn to pieces by a Space Marine captain or chaplain. Right. Let's summarise and go over. Plus, I'm going to add one more little tidbit in for you. Right. Number one, characters can no longer join units, and they buff all, and, you know, typically they buff units around them. To make up for the fact they can't join units, they can only be targeted if they are the closest enemy model. So your opponent will have to destroy and cut through lots and lots of ranks of guardsmen to get at your characters behind. However, don't have your characters too close to the front lines or too close to the units they're supporting, because they could potentially get pulled into combat. Now, one other thing which isn't mentioned in this reveal, but something that I've seen in another reveal, I think it's even the next one, which is going to be the Astra Militarum reveal. Yes, we get a faction focus, guys, and it's coming up next video. One thing to focus is sniper weapons can target characters, even if they're not the closest. Snipers in 7th edition are a bad joke. Snipers in 8th edition are going to be fucking awesome. They're going to be integral to any Imperial Guard army. And guess what? Imperial Guard can spam snipers so there's no tomorrow. We are one of the only armies that can put a sniper in every single basic line squad. Space Marines can't do that. Space Marines have to take scout snipers. We can take sniper special weapon squads, and we have rattling snipers. Rattling snipers are fucking better than Space Marine scout snipers because they're cheaper, but pretty much can do the same job for cheaper, and they can shoot and run. Now, whether they keep that ability in 8th will remain to be seen. But what I'm saying, guys, is we are going to need snipers. But I'll go over that more in the next video, the Astra Militarum video. So, characters are potentially a lot more durable, but if your opponents can target them, they're going to melt quickly. So, one last thing I want to mention, sorry guys, a bit of a PS moment here, is I don't know what this means for Imperial Guard command squads. I don't know if we're going to have junior officers still in command squads or not. I don't know if company command squads will still be a thing, or if you'll have company commanders and junior officers running around independently. I don't know. Okay? So we know that characters like commissars, priests, primaire psychers will be independent roaming characters. We know this now. However, the fate of our beloved junior officers and their junior command squads and our senior command squads, that remains to be seen. We might still get command squads. We may not. We'll have to see. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you found it informative. Tell me what you guys think. Of course, I'm always super interested in seeing your guys' comments. So please comment, and I'll see you guys next time.